Hey, what's going on? This is Frugivest. Welcome. So, how much does your daily coffee cost you? Well, it's not just a matter of, coffee cost times coffee cups. It's actually slightly more complicated than that. Coffees are actually quite an interesting one because A, it's completely discretionary. You don't have to buy coffee, well, unless you're completely addicted to caffeine, but we'll just ignore that for now. And the other reason it's interesting is because it's something you buy every single day and in a very small amount. So, the cost of a coffee doesn't seem like much, but over the long run, it can actually end up being quite a fair amount of money. So, how much does a cup of coffee cost you every day for, say, 30 years? Or why did I say 30 years? Well, 30 years is the average amount of time someone spends in the workforce. So 30 years, assume that someone works for 30 years and they have a cup of coffee every day. How much would that cost them? I'm going to use a coffee cost of about $3.50 because that seems to be the average. You can check the link for that. So we'll use $3.50 a cup and we'll assume that someone has one coffee a day and they have a coffee every day for 30 years, excluding weekends. And we'll also assume that they have 20 days off a year for a holiday or holidays or they're sick or something like that. So it actually ends up being, I think it's $25,200 just in outlay, right? That doesn't seem like a lot, but the point is that there's an opportunity cost. If you invested $3.50 every working day into the stock market, you would end up with something like $180,000, something insane like that after 30 years. That's a lot of money. And keep in mind, this is just one cup of coffee at $3.50 a day. How does this work? Basically, it all has to do with compound interest. If you put money away and you let it earn interest, it can snowball, especially if you keep adding to it every day. This is why I said that coffee is a really great example of how powerful, what the opportunity cost is for not investing, because it's something that's very manageable, very easy to give up, and it can lead to enormous benefit over the long run. To get to $1 million, you'd probably just have to let it sit for another 10, 20 years. Again, that seems like it's far-fetched, but believe me, we're all going to get there. Well, hopefully, we're all going to get there one stage, and we're all going to have to quit our jobs eventually. So, yeah, having an extra $1 million for, just not drinking coffee, that's a plus. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I quite like my coffee. I don't want to give up my coffee. What should I do? What I recommend is you invest in a coffee machine, or you convince your workplace to buy the coffee machine for you. And you can say something like, it increases productivity. That's why it's a good idea to have a coffee machine. The type of coffee machine that I like, well, we've got one at our work actually, but it's a capsule coffee machine. So you put the capsule in and it spits out a coffee. It's really quick, easy, and it's a high quality coffee. The downside to that sort of coffee though is the fact that you have to pay for the capsules, which can be quite expensive. So keep that in mind. To see the full blog post, just check out my website to see all the real specifics on the numbers. I couldn't recall them off the top of my head. And thanks for watching. See ya.